Okay, so let's dive into this bite-sized webinar and talk all about values. As usual, I will be looking down. I have made some notes to make sure that I don't miss a trick, as it were. Now, the title, Live Your Values. And I would say, people ask, what are your values? And your values are at the very core of your own belief system. Now, we won't get onto whether or not your values match my values and your values fit in with social norms, but regardless of who you are and what you do, you will have values, okay? And it's just as important that your business also has values. So it's really no different, if you like, if you think about what you stand for, what your values are in life. This is you applying this towards your business. Now, why do you need to have values? And I'm not speaking out of turn when I say this, but I have met quite a few people who say, oh, Miles, that's just the fluffy stuff. That's all bollocks. That's not needed. I don't need to identify my values. And I would say, that's fine. That's absolutely, my glasses are so wonky. That's absolutely fine if you want to take that approach. I would say that if it's something that all, bar none, of the largest companies in the world do, then maybe there might be some rationale behind them doing it. And hopefully what I'm going to explain to you today is some of the great reasons as to why you should have values within your business, however you want to structure them, but have them, okay? So one of the reasons why you need values in your business is to give a little bit of structure, a little bit of direction. It forms the skeleton, or the values form the skeleton, if you like, of the culture that will grow within your organization. And really, by putting your values at the forefront of all of your communications, not only will you attract customers that represent your values, but you should also as well start attracting staff to come and join your organization that align, if you like, with your values. So I'm going to say there are sort of three main reasons as to why your business need values: identity, messaging, and personality. Okay, these are all things that your values encapture, let's say. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about my values, if you like, for my business. And they are being a pioneer. That's something which definitely came out when I looked at myself and my business and what I wanted to really try and do. Having a pioneering attitude, it doesn't mean that you have to do things new. It just means that, you take an approach, if you like, to try and lead the way in what you do and break new ground. The second one is tenacity. Now, I believe I'm quite a tenacious person, and that's something, I don't want to be wishy-washy. I want to carry through with my intentions. So being tenacious within business, not sort of taking no for an answer, or certainly not sort of taking the first knockback that you get, and always sort of dusting yourself off and trying again. So tenacity, that's one of my core values. Valiant. Now, I don't mean that I sort of jump on a on a white horse, but it means that sort of like I fight the good fight, or I stand up for what's right, rather than what necessarily, I suppose, is in vogue. I always try and be sort of true to my word, and certainly when I interact with my clients. Curiosity, or being curious. I do like to sort of scratch the surface. And one of my latest clients, I don't think he's getting annoyed, but I do sort of, I'm a little bit like a 2-year-old that keeps sort of saying, well, why? But why? But why? Trying to get to the truth of the matter. And being impartial, I think it's really important not to be a sort of a yes person. I mean, obviously, if somebody's right, then be a yes person. But as a consultant, it's really important to sort of back yourself and stand by, what you believe to be true, even if it's not right for that particular customer. I don't I don't have a sort of an attitude of well, if the customer wants to do it, then we shall. My attitude is to tell the customer why I don't think we should do it, and maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we shouldn't work together, right? If you're not going to take sort of my advice, if you like, on a particular thing. So being impartial, that's really important. And the last one is having a giggle. Like hopefully you get that from the way in which I come across on these webinars as an example. And although I am a serious professional person, I do enjoy having a giggle. Who doesn't? Okay, so they're my sort of brand values, and I sort of hold those quite sort of true to certainly all of the communications that I put out there. I'm going to give you a little something to do now. If you think brand values are bollocks, then maybe try this out. Why don't you think of 3 very large multinational brands? Okay, I'm not going to put any words in your mouth, as it were, but think of 3 household names, and then sit down and just write a few words as to how you would describe them. So let's use the typical one. If someone said to you Coca-Cola, what would you how would you describe Coca-Cola as a company? And what I'm going to say to you is that probably the things that you write down, if you were to go online and look up Coca-Cola's brand values, they are available, by the way, I would suggest that what you've written down would reflect some of the brand values that Coca-Cola actually have. And that's because in everything the big brands do, they try and make sure that they are in line with their brand values. So it's no coincidence that when you think of that brand, you are thinking about the same type of things as everybody else is thinking about and what they want you to think about. Okay, so why don't you try that? Give it a try. Give it a try. In terms of these are sort of some of the questions I get asked, I suppose. In terms of your values, should they reflect you or should they reflect the company? And I think the really easy way to answer this is, well, what products and services do you offer? Um, if you've got a professional services company, take my company, Miles Marketing. My name is in the company, and I am the principal person that works here. So it does make sense that the values of Miles Marketing align with the values of Miles the person. Yeah. However, if you've created a non-personal brand, then I think it's important to think about what you want people to think about your brand and look at it that way. So, in the sort of third person, as it were, but think about creating values that represent the brand that you want to create. They don't necessarily have to share what you have in mind, but they need to be representative of what you want people to think about your company. How many values should you have? Well, it's up to you. You could have as many or as few as you like. I would suggest the sweet spot is around 6. Okay, 4 to 8. The sweet spot is about 6, but you don't need to have. You can just have one big statement if you so want to. You can have individual words, you can have words that are underpinned by, a few lines, or you can actually write a statement or a paragraph. All those things are absolutely fine. There's no hard and fast rules in terms of how you display your brand values. I would suggest that about half a dozen is about right for you to remember what they are and for you to sort of easily reference and incorporate them in your communications. And I've written down here, what do I do with them once I've made them? And I'll come on to maybe how you make them in a second. But this is what I think you should do with them once you've decided what they're meant to be. I would include them in a simple document. A fancy document would be referred to as brand guidelines, where you'd have your logo in there, your strap line, your tone of voice, all your mission, your vision, all those sort of fun stuff. But try and put, especially if you use third parties, I know a lot of people, they subcontract their social media as an example. So it's really important that your social media operators know what your brand values are, what you stand for. So these sort of documents are really important to be shared with third parties. You want to put them on your website, make them visible. There's no point in having values if you tuck them away in a drawer. You want to talk about them regularly within your communications, both internally and externally. If you're doing a newsletter, why don't you focus on one of your values within your newsletter and expand about why that's important to your company? Think about producing some promotional items that perhaps have some of your values on. Think about the space in which you work in and how perhaps you could illustrate some of the values that you have for your company within your workspace. Make your values visible. That's what you've got to do with them once you've decided what they are. Whew, right, okay. I've been a naughty boy and I haven't turned off my emails. So in order to stop things from going bing, I'm just going to turn those off. Right, okay. Well, at least you know it's live, right? At least you know it's live. Right, when it comes to creating your content, so that may be words on your website, it may be images for your website, it may be product labels, it may be clothing, promotional items, newsletter, emails, any type of communications. And please don't take this literally when I say try and keep your values in mind. Just keep them in mind. You don't need to put your values in all of the communications you do, but you want to sort of think, does this reflect our brand? So by doing something, or when you write a press release, does the way in which it reads, does the message that it portrays, does it represent what you stand for? Does that make sense? When I say try and include your values in your communication, let's say you've got half a dozen. I don't mean that you go through your comms and like make sure all half a dozen are there. Just sort of cherry pick. Just make sure that when you're communicating, you're pulling on or taking inspiration from your values. Yeah, all of these things sort of they permeate through, and that's what people come to know and come to recognize. It's about sort of consistency, really. So not every single one of your values needs to be in every single piece of your communication. All right, just have them in your mind as you're writing and as you're creating. So what should you think about when you're creating your values? And I'll come on to maybe a step by step as to how to create them in a second. But I would say think about who your business is with. Yeah. Think about what you care about and think about how you work. You know, so think about who or what your business is. Think about what you care about, and think about how you work. Um, right. So let me. So I've lost my train of thought. Okay. Right. So this is all about how you create them. Sorry, lot of looking down there. Right. Um, when it comes to creating your values from scratch, the first thing to do is not to do it on your own. So if you are a one person machine, then I suggest you ask a loved one, friends, and family what they think your values are or what they think about you. So that'll give you a sort of a starting point. If you have a wider team, I would ask the team and ask the team simple questions like, what do you think our company stands for? Or if you had to sum up our company in 3 words, what would they be? Start to sort of stimulate them to give you a response. This will give you some ideas. Also, think about your target market. Think about who they are and how you want your company to appeal to them. We all sort of tend to graduate to people like us, gravitate to people like us, and we, you know, definitely feel like we're in line with brands that also represent what we feel in terms of our value. So try and think about your target market and what they want. Also consider, you know, what the customer experience is with your brand. How do they interact with your brand, or how do you interact with them? Is it purely through a website? Is it through, you know, direct mail? Is it over the phone? Is it in person in a shop? Think about how the customer, could be all of those things. Think about how the customer is relating with you, and think about how your values apply to the way in which they relate to you. And then I would say just pick a short list. All right. Maybe come up with a top 10 list of values that you think represent your company, and then go back to the top. Ask the loved one, ask the friends and family what they think of your short list, and narrow it down. The same with the team. Hold some meetings, ask them what they think, and condense your list down. If you're running a larger business, you may well think about doing something along the lines of some market research. So, you know, maybe on your database, you've got some customers. Maybe you want to send some of your customers a little email and say, look, would you mind helping by answering this questionnaire? You could ask them you could send them a very simple survey to ask them to highlight um, what they think about in terms of your company. Yeah. So asking basically other people's opinion, right? Friends and family, staff, customers, what they think, and then you sort of condensing things down from there. And once you've done that, you know, you need to compile your brand guidelines, and don't think that this needs to be a fancy document. It just needs to be written down so you can pass it to somebody else. Make sure that you share these values with staff and customers, and just be consistent. Keep them in mind constantly. And I was going to say it's a slow game. It's it's something which takes time to build, and the more that you think about including your values in your regular communication, the more people will start to really understand what it is you're pushing. So when I say communications, I'm thinking things like website, social media, email marketing, newsletters, promotional material. Even when it comes down to your Monday morning meeting, right? Why don't you start your Monday morning meeting by talking about one of the values and why it's important to the business? Okay, just gonna check the chat. Oh, we've got a few people that have made some comments. That's lovely. Uh, oh, Gonzalo, he's saying that tenacity is one of his top 5 keys to success. Well, then we're definitely people like us, Gonzalo. Thank you very much indeed. Alex, Alex Watt, thank you very much indeed for jumping on, sir. And Laura, yeah, she's saying it's really important to have values in your business. She said that it creates boundaries. Yeah, I mean, look, I think that you can use your values to create a framework in order to make all of your communications really quite cohesive and just be consistent. Keep doing it. Right, I'm going to wrap up now. If you do have any specific questions on values, why don't you pop them in the chat and I'll answer them after my little summary. But I've got sort of top 3 things that you should do now. Yeah. And they are in no particular order. Yeah, they are in order. Right. They are, first of all, identify them. Okay. Identify them, get yourself a short list, ask other people's opinion, refine them. Don't worry about the format that they take. Just make sure that you got them down and that they're right for you and your business. The second thing is share them. Don't put them in a drawer. Don't keep them to yourself. Shout about them. Put them on your communications. Make sure that certainly everyone within your business knows what they are, because and this is really quite an important thing. If you can recruit, and then like this is like the utopia of recruitment. But if you can recruit people based on their values, then your business is going to be represented more and more by people that get the business, right? And again, this sort of comes down to a very much a utopia thing, and I know a lot of people are struggling to employ the right people right now. But maybe think about the way in which you structure your job advert. Traditionally, job adverts are, 3/4 about the skills that you need to do the job and a quarter about the company and what the company stands for. Maybe think about writing it the other way around. Maybe think about writing it 3/4 about the type of person you want to attract. And, because and this is the important thing, you can teach people skills, but it's almost impossible to teach people values. Okay, so just think about that. We're words of wisdom from Miles on a Tuesday. And the last one, number 3, is live them. All right, that's the title, right? Live your values. Live them, implement them across all of your comms, and don't stop talking about them. This isn't something which you do every now and again. This is something which needs to be a part of your DNA, and you really do need to keep constantly pushing out those values. Make sure your values permeate every single thing your company does. Right. Yep. So lovely. We've had some lovely comments there. Thank you, Philip. It might be good to show rather than tell. Yeah, I just think that be visual with your values. Okay, I mean, I've created some little images that sort of go with them, because I want to impart one of my values, which is having a little bit of fun there. But it's you and Laura as well saying, she absolutely agrees about the structure. Yeah, it does allow you to sort of promote your company within a nice framework. And believe me, if you do this consistently, then people will start to take notice. And slowly but surely, your ideal customers will start to gravitate towards you, because they're seeing all of the signs of a company that they want to be involved with, that's like them.